Alright, in this video we're going to take you through how to make these nifty interior elevations of your cabinetry and kitchen work. And this is going to look very close to what you see here on the screen. It'll be based off of the kitchen we just went ahead and built up. Range is a little larger, and so is the refrigerator. A little more standard size equipment there, but that's okay. So let's go ahead and let's build this thing up in Revit. So I'll jump back out here to Revit, and I just built this kitchen. Now we're going to go ahead and create some elevation. So anything that you look at is on your View tab here in Revit. And then I'm going to slide over here to the Elevation button, pull this down. And I'm looking at an elevation I want to make, so I'm going to click on Elevation. Then I come over here and it says Elevation Interior. Now if it has Building Elevation, you don't want to do that. You want to pull off of that and go to the Interior Elevation. And the Interior Elevation is this little round call out with what I call the nose. Little nose looks like it's a dog sniffing the countertop. Alright, so you want to have the nose pointing in the direction of the view, and then just go ahead and left click. Now what that just did is it creates an elevation. There is now an interior elevation, or elevations interior, over here in our browser. If I hit that little plus, you can see there's an elevation 1A. Now there's an elevation 1A right here, so we know we've created an elevation. So I'm going to go ahead and you can add a second elevation by doing the same thing again, interior elevation, coming over this way, and you can click again. That makes elevation 2A. Now, there's two ways you can really do this. You can set this up this way and then have these two elevations present. You can then move some of these around, but so they're not over top of the cabinetry. But did you see that when I selected that elevation tool, you have 4 different types of arrowheads pop up and all these question marks, okay? So what you could do is you could actually create this elevation and make a separate one, or you can select this elevation and you can click on that elevation head right here. Once you put this little check mark in that elevation head, you now have a second elevation popping up, okay? So what that does is creates 2 elevations, all by utilizing one elevation call out. The only thing that I've always found issue with is the fact that these names now are so long, elevation 1B. So what I always like to do is, if I'm going to do it this way, is I come over here to the properties and get rid of the word elevation. That'll update this for me, and I can go get rid of this name, elevation. And then of course this is 1A and 1B, so that when it gets put on the sheet, it's easily read. So that's one way that can be done. And you can jump back into here easily, uncheck this, and you can delete that. If you wanted to go ahead and create a second elevation, interior elevation, that's fine. You can go ahead and do it that way too. Again, if you want to keep the elevation name, you can. If not, you want to get rid of it, you can go ahead and do that also. So I'll come over here and click on elevation here and get rid of that. And then if I try to do this, it's going to say the name entered is already in use. Enter a unique name. Okay, that's fine. So instead of this, we're going to call this 1A. We're going to call this 2A. And then we can then get rid of elevation altogether. And now it's called 2A. So that works out great. You could also call this 1B if you wanted to do that. So this could be called 1B. Depends on your descriptor. So we'll do 1B. As long as it's calling out a different elevation. So there's your elevations. They're set. If we wanted to actually go look at them, you can double click on that little head and then it takes us to that view. Now, this is so squashed down underneath the level 1. I'm going to just take and pull up this little arrow, I should say this little dot. Then I can actually see what's going on inside here. And you actually see I got a lamp on the wall. But then this would be the elevation that I would take and set up and put onto the sheet. Alright, so we could actually pull this out if we wanted to see a little more information about the wall and the kitchen. That's all good to go. And we can come back out here and look at B, double click over here, and again, same thing. You might need to adjust this crop view. Alright, pull this up so you can see the kitchen aspects here that you want to see. Now you can see I have all these sections popping up. If the section is used on a sheet, you can leave it, but I can see one is here that shouldn't be there. I could go ahead and delete it, or just right click and hit hide in view, elements, and it gets rid of it. If you're going to keep your section line, and you should if it's used on a sheet, you want to pull this thing up and then make this fit a little neater, okay? Because this section is where that wall is getting cut, all right? So with that set up, we'd be ready to take and put this on our sheet and lay out the interior elevations.